Daniel, Bryce, Leo, and Joel, get ready. You're next on episode 31 of the Ready Call Swing Analysis series. Members and guests of Lang Golf Academy, thank you once again for joining us on episode 31 of the Ready Call Swing Analysis series. In this series, we diagnose swing flaws based on cause and effect, and we do our best job to try and diagnose what you can work on based on your feedback and based on what I see. Now, keep in mind, this is not a be-all, end-all. This is just a conversation piece, so take it with a grain of salt. If you do like this, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe, as it really helps promote the channel. Any interaction will really help as well. So if you see something else in the swing, put it in the comment box and let's get a discussion going. That's what this is all about. As my usual disclaimer goes, I don't know these swings. These are just submitted to me, so I'm looking at them first time with you. I don't know the range of motions, any injuries, unless you do state them in your notes. So if you do decide you want to submit a swing, make sure you do the front view and down the line about knee height. Make sure you capture the full swing and make sure the down the line is on your foot line so we can kind of see what's going on. And lastly, when you submit your video, please put notes that you want me to be aware of if you do have any injuries or if you have any misses that you want to cover. But with that being said, let's get going. And look, no blue shirt day today. It's green pullover shirt. It's 105 degrees outside. I decided, let me just wear a pullover. All right, first on the screen here we have Daniel. Daniel from Australia, thanks for giving that away to me because I would never have guessed that from this view. Too bad I didn't say Wichita because I'm still waiting for somebody from Wichita. So if you're from Wichita and you happen to play golf, or if you know somebody from Wichita that plays golf, have them send me a video so I can get off this Wichita train. Looks like Daniel's been playing for 5 months, having issues with slicing drivers, hitting weak irons to the right, some difficulty squaring up. Short game's really good. All right, so good thing you have a good short game. We can all use a stronger short game, so I highly suggest to anybody watching this, spend at least half your time on chipping and putting, because if you have a good short game, you can save yourself a lot of the times. But it also helps if we hit it in bounds. So, obviously we need to hit it in bounds first. Let's take a look at this swing in slow motion here and see what we can come up with. All right, already see that path going a little bit outside, getting flat at the top. Club face is slightly open, starting to lose some spine angle already. Club face is being thrown out. Shoulders are opening up at impact too much, and there's not much. So I do see some pulls in your repertoire, just like that one was a slight pull. But most of the time with the longer clubs, you are going to lose that ball more right than anything, with the occasional pull hard left. But I would imagine your shorter irons, like your wedges and your 9 irons, you might suffer from a pull more than a slice or a push or a fade. That's just because of the plane shortening up and you're standing more over the golf ball. But let's just let me draw some lines and I'll come back to you. Okay, so right off the bat, it looks like you're setting up a little bit too over the top, meaning your upper body is really leaning over your lower body. With the driver, you don't want to set this up because now your shoulder tilting is going to have to require themselves to be too much tilted based on that spine angle. So you are going to have a descending blow and very steep, so you can lose it outside to him pretty quickly. So setup, you can see your arms are kind of pulling away from the socket, so just let them stand a little closer. Let the arms hang down by you standing closer and much taller in the upper body. I like the lower body look. It looks athletic, but it just looks very toe oriented. The weighting is too toe oriented, and that's going to keep you, leaning towards the golf ball with your body. So your weighting is going to shift forward as you take that club back. So right off the bat, just take a look at that alignment for you. But we can see how this club is going already off its plane. It should be right about there. Even below it, this case is okay for you to feel that. So for me, that's maybe one of the reasons is your setup is a little bit too much like an iron, but the club is longer, so when you feel like you swing around, so your arms are trying to swing around for you while you're trying to maintain your spine angle with the iron setup. So you can see that left knee starting to break down, and that's also going to mess with your weighting. You might start to stack your weight on the left side too much. We'll have to look at the front view, but you can see as you take that club to the top here, your arm is trying to get to where it needs to be. You've definitely leveled out your shoulders, so your shoulders have leveled out to accommodate to get the arms flatter because you're standing like an iron. So your shoulders based on that setup should be kind of where your secondary plane line is, 90 degrees from that 90 degrees from that spine angle, but they're flattened out to accommodate you. But once that's flattened out, now that's going to mess with your weighting, it's going to mess with your path on the way down, it's going to mess with your release point. And plus that straight right leg we're going to see from the front view, see how that distributes your weighting. That also increases your hip tilt. So once your left knee buckles in, your left hip tilt lowers, and that's going to increase the way you drive into the golf ball. So I imagine that you have more of a descending blow with the driver, which will give you really high launch angles. And with the club face open, path left, that's a high launch angle, and that ball's going right and more right. But as we come back down, the club face it's okay from this position based on your left arm, but it's open to your original spine angle. So just be careful with that. And from here, because you have a flatter shoulder, your arms are going to be swinging more away from you and taller because you flatten your shoulders. You're losing a lot of posture, because you're trying to get to that centeredness. And when you start, you're very toe heavy. So as you swing, your body's going to fight to find that centeredness, which is more over your toes. And so as you strike the golf ball, you've got that flatter shoulder tilt, and now you're losing posture, which now your impact is, you see how much posture loss you have. So everything's working in and up, and arms are going up and away. So it's really hard to fight anything else. You can't really cure anything. You can't come up with something to have a band-aid on this. I would say just by this view, work on your posture a lot. Try and stay in your spine angle all the way through by getting in a better setup at the start. So taller, so you don't have to readjust your shoulders, because once you readjust your shoulders, it throws everything off. Let's take a look at the front to see if that helps. All right, so I just found out that Daniel didn't send me a front. So Daniel, if you're watching and you want me to do a front so I can put it together with this one, just go ahead and send me the front view, which means the camera is facing you, and then I can see your ball position, and I can also see what's happening with the weight distribution. But based on what I see in the back, I've got a pretty good idea what's going on. So just follow those advices that I gave you. Then just always work with grip, alignment, setup, posture. Those are your 4 keystones right now while you're developing. But all in all, for 5 months, pretty good. You got some rotation. You just need to work on posture, not losing your posture. If you have any further questions, let me know in the comments. I'll help you out the best I can. But keep in touch, and hello from America. Let's see who is next. All right, next up we have Bryce. So let me pull up Bryce's notes here. Bryce, see, I gotta scroll down a little bit. Okay, so spends most of his time working on alignment and hip rotation and mobility, since I don't even know what else to work on. My typical miss is a push. So let me look at your swing. Typically if you don't know what to work on, maybe you're not keeping adequate statistics. So I would recommend you get a good statistic program. I've written an Excel program. If you want it, just let me know. I can email it to you. It keeps pretty detailed statistics while you play golf, and that way it shows you your weaknesses and your strengths, so you do have a game plan. The last thing you want to do is tinker with a motion that doesn't need tinkering. You want to identify your weaknesses and then go from there and work on your weaknesses to give you an overall game. So let me know if you want that. Let me know in the comments. I'll send it to you, no problem. But let's take a look at this motion. Setup looks pretty solid already. Arms hanging down naturally, nice evenly weighted, good spine angle. Looks pretty right on. I don't see much going on here with alignment issues. Takeaway club's a little bit shut, a little bit more tilting going on, which is causing that club head to go a little bit higher while you're trying to hold your wrist for that one-piece takeaway. I see your hips kind of jutting out on the right side. Pretty powerful though. It looks like you're really going to go down and get it. See if you can hold that angle. Okay, that's a pretty good move there. Okay, you're doing a really good job. Oh, you got 2 in 1? Look at that. Perfect. Good job. Both in 1. Okay, I just see a slight issue with the club head on its own individual tracking. It's a little over the top, and then it comes back down below. But you do a good job of maintaining everything else. So, it looks like you make this work. And it looks like you'd love to hit golf balls in practice, so you probably have it pretty ingrained. So the problem when you have something really ingrained, any small motion that you do is going to be tough, because it's so ingrained if you do practice as much as I think you do. Now your setup here, it is unusual, but let's take a look at it, see if you make it work. So you see you're definitely increasing your shoulder tilt, you're going down to get it, got a little forward spine angle. Do we hold it? Yeah, look at that. That's good. I would say maybe you might fight the occasional push and the occasional lost ball left. Not lost out of bounds, but just losing it left. But other than that, I mean, you make this work. This is a really, really solid swing in its own right. Okay, so let me draw some lines because I want to show you what I'm looking at. Okay, so here we can see, your spine angle is ahead of the golf ball, so you're definitely trying to set up to strike down on it. Your hands are forward pressing, but they're not forward pressing off your center. So this is actually a true forward press, a correct one, where you're still connected with your core. So I would predict that you do hit this a little bit lower than normal. If you de-loft the club face and you keep that pattern through. Really depends on the impact point. You can see the left brace line is pretty close to your spine angle line. With that's okay. I mean, you definitely make this work. You're very set up on the left side, but you stay on the left side. So let me look at this. You can see that spacing between your right hip and the right brace line. That's pretty solid. You stay on your left side. You still on your spine angle, which is really good. Coming on back down here, look at that angle. So you hold it, phenomenal angle. I mean, to get your hands to be almost level with the golf ball while you're having a 90-degree lag going on there in the angle, that's world class. I mean, that's really good. And you're still holding on to that angle. Look at that, it's still holding on. So yeah, for sure. I mean, I would imagine that if you do release it a little too soon, that's chunk city, so you probably learn to just delay that, and your body's able to compensate for that. But you do a phenomenal job. I mean, you can see there's the club is parallel through, and then there it was parallel down. So really solid. I mean, you make this work excellent. It's going to be really hard to offer you some suggestions just because I don't know what you are trying to accomplish based on your notes. I would say just keep doing what you're doing. Let me I'm gonna take these out and put some new lines over here for you. Okay, so I got a couple lines up here for us to look at. Your spine angle line, your lower brace line, your lower plane line, your upper plane line, your back brace line. And I'll put this line over your hands, your arms and your hands to see how well you stay connected on the way through. So you see your arms are just doing a wonderful job. Club, like I said before, is going a little bit above those hands, probably necessity. And as you come back down, I mean, look at how you drop it in the slot perfectly. So this is where you might want to try and start to work on some things. But in order to keep that club going down this path, you have to take care of that, that little over the top type of thing. But to get to the over the top, you have to take care of the setup. So this is one of those domino effects, is how deep do you want to go? I mean, how much do you want to change? And based on your notes, I don't know anything other than you saying you're working on a couple things. So I wouldn't change much. I mean, you do a really good job. You can see the club face is still slightly open to your spine angle. The club head is going to ride down that lower plate. So look at that. Never really gets below it. Arms obviously have to go slightly up as you're tilting under. You do a really good job of staying in that posture, especially with that increased shoulder tilt. And then a slight little release, but that's fine. And then you come on through. Look at that, you're holding the spine angle. So excellent. I wouldn't touch anything, honestly. This thing is grooved in for you. It's your swing. You've owned it. You hit the ball really well. What I saw is just something that I try and look for in golf swings. But honestly, the amount of work it's going to take for you to get it to where, textbook. I mean, it's who cares about textbook? Whatever works for you. So I don't see anything major. I don't see any potential injuries. I see everything's really solid. So keep doing what you're doing. If you need to, again, if you want that statistic thing, let me know. I'll email it to you. No problem. But other than that, let me guess where you're from. It looks like, I know that range. Somebody else sent me that range, but I don't have a very good memory. Seeing as we're 30 episodes into it, I'm just going to have to say Wichita. Let's see who's next. All right, next up we have Leo. Leo, welcome. There's no notes in Leo, so I don't even begin to know where you're from, Leo. Let me take a look if I can see some clues amongst that stuff. I see a brand new golf mat box, so congratulations. I'm going to guess somewhere. Let me just see. Houston. If not Houston, Wichita. If you don't know why I say Wichita, you got to follow us. All right, next up, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at the swing without any lines. Just take a look what's going on. A little disconnection, shoulders, leveling it out, you probably go a little bit under to try and catch up for that to get it back on plane. Okay. Definitely got a good rotation going on here. Good footwork. I love the Crocs, by the way. I own a pair myself. They're one of the most comfortable shoes out there. Okay. Alright, let me draw some lines here. Let me be right back. Alright, Leo, so what we're going to do is we're going to just basically give you a couple things to look at, and then I recommend going to see somebody once every month or once every other week while you do these swing changes, because swing changes without guidance is pretty scary, because feel isn't real. Sometimes you might feel you're doing it, and the next thing you know, you look at yourself and it's the exact same thing. And it always takes that golf ball. As soon as that golf ball goes down, it registers your old neurological system, and no matter how many drills you've done, that will always win until you do enough dry swings like you're doing here. But take that ball away, let's do some position drills. So what I'm going to help you out with is, if you take a look at your shoulders, so your setup's really good. I mean, your club shaft is almost 90 degrees to your initial spine tilt, which is like almost textbook what you want to do, because then it's a lot easier to turn around when you keep things in relation with each other. So at the top of your swing, your shoulders should match that top plane line here. Let's see if they do. Top of the swing, you can see your shoulders are already starting to lose a lot of position here. So now your shoulders are kicking up there. So you've lost about, 20 degrees of left shoulder raise. What that does is it now flattens your club. Your club face looks pretty good in relation to your left forearm. Might be a slight bit closed, but it's okay. But now when you flatten your arm, it raises. When you flatten your shoulders, it raises your left arm. That's going to change your swing plane to be very over the top. So you've developed something to help you. You'll also notice that your right leg stands up, straightens pretty quickly, and that's also going to affect some spine, long day. Affect some hip issues at the top of your swing, because now you have a hip tilt that's a little bit too much left leaning. So you pair that together, you've lost some spine angle retention, so you're moving into the golf ball. Once you take that swing down, your arms are going to decide, hey, I got to try and get back down below that plane, because if I don't, I'm going to be upright and coming over the top all the time. I might even miss the ball. So you've developed this severe drop down to help you compensate for that, and then you result into a flip. Now, when you take it that far below, you can see where the club is coming from. The club is coming from way down over here. Now, if you keep continuing on that path, you're going to make contact with the ground about a foot behind the golf ball. So you've started to compensate for that. Now you're moving more into the golf ball, which helps you elevate and stand a little bit taller to keep that club from dropping in the ground. So as you strike the golf ball now, you're almost upright and you've run out of room. Look at your right arm. It's like it's crashing into your body because you've stood up so much that you've lost that room. So now you have to rely on a really good hand-eye coordination to flip the golf ball, to flip the club through the golf ball. So I would imagine some of your swing results, your ball flights, are either top heavy, topping it, hitting the ground before the golf ball, and that's the same miss, it's just different timing issues. Direction, you probably either snap hook the golf ball or you lose this thing right a lot. And every now and then you catch it good, you time everything up, and you hit it right where you want to. So now you have so many things that you're saying, well, wait a minute, it feels like the same swing. How come I have 23 different misses? Because it's a very timing-oriented motion you've put yourself into. So good drill for you is stand against the wall. I'm actually linking in the description below. I have a drill to help you with spine angles. It's dealing with a garage, and good look, you got a garage right there, so you can do it. So have a look at that video. But then secondly, put a club across your shoulders. Once you're in that spine angle, your shoulders need to tilt around your spine. So right now you're going like this with your left shoulder. You want to make sure it feels like it's going to go down, but all you're doing is turning around your spine. So those couple things will help you. I want you to send me a follow-up. Give it a couple of months. Send me a follow-up video so I can put this one and the new one together, and we can just take it from there. Same goes to you if you want to send me a face on. It's totally up to you, but it helps me with ball position and stuff. But from down the line, you have plenty to work on. So hope that helps you. Hope you're from Wichita. If not, just say you are. Make my day so we can get off this Wichita train, and let's see who is finally up. All right, next we have Joel. So let me take a look here. Joel is swing. No notes. Okay. Yep, no notes. All right, Joel. So we just got a blank slate here. We'll take a look. And keep in mind, I'm going to give you some advice based on somebody that has good range motion, no injuries, since there was no notes. So just keep that in mind there. Okay, severely shut club face. You're learning to hold on to that, realign yourself to help that club face get square. And you can't really release the club face because it's probably really shut and your body's just trying to open up a lot. You can see that left arm is kind of bracing. It's not really releasing because your body keeps turning to hold that club from releasing. And wow, look at that. The club is still straight in line with your forearm. So you really release it with your body. Good things and bad things. If you can do it, you can hit the ball pretty far. But if you release it, any sort of release with a closed club face and that position, that ball's going snap hook, big snap hook. You can still see the club face is closed there. All right, so disconnections going on here. I think down the line will really help us. But from this point of view, it's going to be tough with this worm view, but we'll do our best. So let me draw some lines. All right, so we got your spine angle line, your shoulder tilt line, your head brace line. I know that's not a perfect square, but forgive me, it's kind of late today. And my right brace line for your hip motion. You can see you do forward press the club, so a forward press plus a strong grip plus a strong club face position. I can see why you have such an exaggerated follow through with your body. So the good news is you can do it, and it takes a lot of rotation, so you already have that in the bag. You know, my job is to help you free up so you don't have to rely on that great body turn that you have so much. Taking that club back, you can see you're just turning, which is nice. Your weight's kind of stuck on your left side here, but you do a really good job turning. From the down the line, we can see if those shoulders level out. They do look like they're leveling out, but that club face is severely shut. Now from here, this is where the fun starts for you. You have to really push your lower body into the golf ball. You're trying to hang back. You're trying to realign your spine angle to increase, to make sure you come from inside and hold that club face open. So there's your spine angle. And now that adjusts your whole path. So now you're going to be almost coming from the inside, I would imagine, looking at down the line. I could be wrong, but that's where my vision should be. And you're just holding off that release while you don't get your hands and arms involved. Okay, so that's a good mind for me to see for down the line. So I think the swing changes will mostly come down the line. Setup, I'm going to throw it out there. We need to get you to set up most neutral. Strong grip, maybe weaken it a little bit just to help you so you can roll the hands out without losing that posture. But this forward press, I think, is what's really hurting you, because if you moved your bottoming and out point to 3 or 4 golf balls are where they need to be here. So you can do a couple things. You can move that ball position way out in front where it should be based on your spine angle, or just level your shoulders a little bit so that brings your shaft in line with your spine. So everything's kind of neutralized and square, and then you won't have to, find a way to make up for that at impact. So let's look at down the line. All right, Joel, so let's take a look here. Just visual first before we draw any lines. Okay, so severely upright with the arms, which I've seen a lot of people play good golf with, so it's not too worrying yet. And then there's that compensation move, so you have to pull down, read right, there we go. Okay, so there's a little loss of posture here. Not too bad though, not as much as I thought it would be. But yeah, you're definitely trying to rearrange your arm path by crunching down your right side and dropping your right shoulder under. And you see how much tilt you have now. So when you have that extreme right shoulder tilt, that's you trying to get the club more from the inside. And the only way really to do that is to what you're doing is crunching down the right side, which drops your shoulders back. And when you drop your shoulders back from turning so much, it's really going to drop the club low because of your high hand position. So this is a tricky one, because if you cure one thing, it's really going to affect everything else. And what do you cure? Do you cure that increased spine position that you're here, that increased shoulder tilt that you're here, or do you just focus on leveling it out? I'm a fan of going, in the start of the swing, because the start of the swing, the first couple feet in the start of your swing, really set up the rest of the swing's ability to either save a motion, keep a good motion, develop correctly. So let's take a look at some lines. Okay, so we got the lines going on for you. Now let's look at that takeaway here. So arms already going a little bit too high. So you definitely need a little bit more turn with the hips to keep those hands lower, and then maybe the shoulder tilting down. As you take that top swing, I forgot your plane line here. Excuse me, your spine angle line. So as you take that club up, slightly higher than your secondary plane line, drop it in the slot there, which it looks pretty good, but momentum from that crunching down. So when you crunch down, remember your left shoulder's going to come up, and that's going to pull your hands away from your body as you do this. It pulls your arms up and away, which now you come disconnected between your hands and your club face. So now your club face is going to trail below that lower plane line. We can see it gets below that lower plane line. So I would imagine some heavy shots, thin shots. Your spine angle is pretty good though. I mean, with that amount of upright and a lot of tilting going on, you still stay in your spine angle reasonably well, but you're not able to quite release the club face. So I just see there's just a lot of maybe your setup. I'm not sure how tall you are. You look pretty tall, so maybe you feel like you have to stand over the golf ball more. I'm not quite sure. But if you're an average height, your setup looks very toe heavy, so a lot of the weight are on the toes. You might need longer clubs so you can stand a little bit taller. You just look very crunched at that position. Instead of tilting under, your first move should be your whole body turns, and that'll help you keep that arm closer to that plane line. So when you get to the top of your swing, your arms will be slightly below that plane line, and then you won't need as much of an exaggerated motion coming from here to here is where you kind of lose it. So you can see that one thing will affect. It's like a domino. It's a game of dominoes. You start one thing and your dominoes just fall. You don't really have control of how they're falling or where they're falling. They just fall based on momentum, based on the setup, just based on how things evolve. You know, the pressure in the golf swing will always look for the least weight, the least resistance out. And when you're trying to move that pressure to compensate for a bad position, that's where, you know, two forces are just trying to rub into each other, and usually the pressure will win unless you're incredibly strong and you can get away with positions. That's why athletes are harder to train, because they're stronger, they have better hand-eye coordination, and they can get away with a lot of bad positions just because of that. I'm not saying you're not a good athlete, I'm just saying that these are the things you have to think about. So this is a tough one again, because if I diagnose a drill to you, it might cause the whole swing to fall apart. So you need somebody to really pay attention to you, somebody that's educated enough, somebody that can do a range of motion testing on you, and really diagnose what your body is capable of doing. And then let's play to your strengths. Let's figure out a way to get you maybe in different equipment to help you set up correctly, work on balance drills, work on rotation drills. Maybe you can't turn because you're not flexible enough, or your body's not built to turn as much as I think it is. So this is where the notes really help out. So, you know, when you start going to professionals, and that's anybody that's watching this, is you need to provide them with as much feedback as you can. And if you are going to a professional that does not ask for that stuff, go find a different professional, because they need to know this, because it's your swing. If you go to a golf pro that teaches like a modality or a style of swing, you stay away from that pro, because they're just not going to help you. They're going to teach you something that may not fit in your body. Everyone is so unique. And when I look at swings, I look at cause and effect. And when I'm looking at cause and effect, what happens early in the swing that affects impact, and I work my way around it. And then I say to myself, is this person capable of doing this? Can they get into certain positions? I need to do a range of motion testing. I need to see what injuries they have. And if they're good to go, okay, we can start working. But then it comes down to how much can the student practice, you know, how their practice habits. So it's a really big journey. The deeper you get into this on your own, the harder it is to pull yourself out. So I highly suggest everybody working, take the best investment of your life and go get periodic lessons once every couple of weeks, once a month, to get you on the right track, to educate you so you can go through these changes correctly. So my diagnosis to you, unfortunately, my friend, is, you know, I can give you some drills to set up correctly, but it's not going to help. It looks like it's been pretty ingrained in there. So hopefully just the video can kind of give you an idea of what I see, and maybe somebody else sees something completely different. That's great. The more education you have, the better it is. So hope that helps you for what it is. I'm going to guess where you're from. Like those tall trees, very Canadian. Let's just shoot it out there. Let's just say Toronto. If not, Wichita. All right, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you are still around, and you want to submit your video, go ahead and submit it. I'll take them anytime. I have about a 2-week wait period. There's about 15 to 20 videos consistently in my inbox, so I just kind of funnel through them. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for the support. If you know anybody that wants some, send them my way. Fairways and greens.
Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. Day we hustle, but the night we. Know that they ride.